Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Hope we're all doing good. Move this over a bit. There we go. Okay. So this is our progress so far. Camera looks really bright for some reason again. Let's tone this down. Seeing a bit more. Looks better. Okay. That's Abaddon's base, and then we've done some other texturing and detail work on the tabard. So today's plan is to basically replicate the tabard onto the cloak. So I have the cloak all primed up, ready to go. I'm going to work on the inside first because the inside is going to be easiest, or easier. Because the outside we have to do the texture and everything like that, then we have to do it like the red OSL. But we have to figure out where the cloak is closest to the torch to figure out like the brightest point of the OSL. So we'll do the inside first. Before we start that, let's do Stream Raiders. I have no chests or anything like that. I think it's like the last day of the event and everything, so let's go through as many battles as we can. So rogues, healers, okay, we could try and do them. Let's back to this. Okay, let's get some paints. Of course, start off with some black. And then we need some background. Okay. Then I believe we went up to light umber. Just start off with these three colors for now. Okay, let's get a brush, mix in some water. A little bit more. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to do more of like a controlled sort of wet blend. Get like the dark foundation layers down. Then we'll move into more of the, not necessarily like dry brushing, but like the dry brush sort of stippling and everything like that to get all that texture in. Okay, do a touch more water. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, the cloak's already black, why are you putting a layer of black down? Because this is only black primer. And you're like, well, why didn't you airbrush coal black over the cloak? Because from my sort of like experience and testing and everything, stuff like that, when you airbrush colors, they don't exactly match like the brush on version, because if it's like a super thin layer, this as well, brushing it on gives us the ability to blend into it. Okay, it's looking good. Grab some coffee. Okay, so let's take some of that black, take some of that black brown, just give it a little mix. Not going to worry too much about it drying or anything like that. Yeah, piece of advice as well. When you're working, like when you're painting and things like that, especially when you're starting out with like wet blending and everything, I would advise you wait until the layer's dry. Like, I know I'm totally contradicting myself because we're painting over the black, which isn't dry. But we've been working with like the Pro Acryl paints probably what, like about a year or so now, something like that, maybe a little bit less. We know the sort of like tolerance level of the paint. We know we can still work in other colors while it's still a little bit wet. Sometimes though, if it's like partly drying, you can end up like almost like tearing the paint. So yeah, when you get a lot more confident and you get a bit more experience and things like that, you can judge when you can apply multiple layers, when you need to leave them to dry. Spotty, how you doing? Hope you're doing good. I saw on Discord you picked up Dark Imperium. Curious of what your plans are for that box. Isn't that the box where it's Death Guard versus Space Marines, is it? I didn't even know they still made that box. Yeah. Just got a layer of coal black, then we're working with coal black mixed with black brown. Yeah, we're just doing like a general coat over the whole cloak. As we get into like the lighter colors, we're going to start splitting it up into those sections that I keep talking about. So like you can look at the cloak, and where this recess is here, we can sort of do this as one little section. This one will probably come to about, maybe see if we can get away with doing a section here. And then we can do this section like about up to there maybe, and then do this end bit. Like you want to try and break it up as much as you can, so you're not trying to wet blend the entire cloak every time you do a pass. You can sort of focus in, be a lot more controlled, take your time with it. If you work up to like the dark sections, or like the more recessed sections, if you make a mistake, if you go too bright into the recess, you come back in with your darker colors, tidy it up. This section up here, we'll probably do a different color, because it's part of like the skin with like the fur over the top. So like this fold over here, we'll probably do a different color. Probably mix in some like yellow ochre or something like that maybe, or maybe even go up to like ivory or something like that. I'm sure we've done, well, we've done fur before. That fur doesn't have like that layer of skin. Sarah, how you doing? Why are Abaddon's raiders always fed the freshest produce? Because nothing ever goes off around the Despoiler. Very nice, very nice. How you doing? Nice to see you. So yeah, working on Abaddon's cloak. We've got just a little update of our progress. So we've done a bit of the base. We've got highlights up there. It's like winged eagle sort of design. Obviously you do the torch and everything. So the plan for the cloak is to replicate this that we've done on the tabard. So right now we're just working up the foundation layers, doing like the wet blending to get this smooth sort of darker brown. And then we'll come back in and we'll do like the dry brush sort of stippling and everything like that to create all that texture. Yeah, really happy so far. Looking pretty cool. Hopefully we don't mess up the cloak with it being such a sort of standout part of the miniature. You think it was funny? It was quite funny. Very, very witty. This looks really good. Thanks. Yeah, the plan for the base, we haven't done any of the dirt or anything like that, because I want to see if I can use like the pigment powders, because I really don't want to, like, if I thought about it in advance, we would have done all the dirt first, because I could have just like airbrushed over a bunch of different browns, chucked like a wash or something over it. We're obviously getting carried away with painting in the space marine and everything like that. We didn't think far enough ahead, so we completely left the dirt. It'd be a pain in the arse to try and paint some of the dirt in around all the stuff we've picked out already. So I want to see if we can just get some pigment powders, put them down onto the dirt. That'll give us the dirt colour, make it a bit more dusty. Maybe dust over some over the marine and everything like that, get some weathering and everything down. And then we can dust some onto the feet of Abaddon as well. We'll see how it goes though. I'll do some testing as we progress. Okay, this is just straight up black brown now. I'm going to take the side of the brush, pick out this edge. Allows us to test like the consistency and everything of the paint, see if we're happy. Tiny bit more water is needed. Try that on the glove. That looks a lot better. So I want to slightly thin down more than usual because we're covering such a large area. We really don't want it to... We want to try and minimize brush strokes as much as possible. Rotate it around, coming from this angle. Like that. Draw that colour down. I want the bottom of the cloak to be brighter. Because that's where it'll be exposed to like the most like damage and weathering and things like that. Where it's been like dragged up across the floor and everything. Touch more water. Try and keep some water on the brush. Not necessarily like mixed into the paint. That's better. I'm always pulling the brush down towards the base of the cloak, or like the bottom of the cloak. Okay, so we've got that color in there. Let's go back to our black, brown, black mix. Pull that up. Go into that recess. You can get a little bit of black. Pull that color down. Blend it into all those other colors. Even grab a bit more black brown. This is where the section sort. I don't really think it's a technique. Like this is where like the sectioning comes in handy. Okay, let's get a nice coat across that. Come down. Okay. Let's get a bit of water on the brush. Get some more paint. If you can, try and... I don't really worry about the recesses and things like that when you're working with your lighter colors. If you get a bit of color in the recess, just keep progressing. Try and get a coat across the whole section. That'll help give it more of a smooth appearance, which comes in handy when, especially when you're doing like Space Marine cloaks and things, because they're a lot more looked after, I suppose is the word. So they appear a lot like cleaner and smoother. Make sure we keep water on the brush. Go to right there. Keep the model moving around. Find like the best angles to approach it. And then we go back in. drop a little bit of shadow in here. This is why I said don't worry about the recesses. You can always go back in, add more shadow as you go. Let all that paint mix together. Push that shadow. Take some more of that black brown. Blend it back in. That top section. Smooth out that side. Okay.
The Forgotten Forge is now following.
Look at that follow. Welcome in. Hatchet, how you doing? Nice to see you. Hope we're all as well in studio. Well, let's see how it goes. I've ordered the Noise Marine. They're supposed to be getting stock in on February the 18th. That's obviously subject to change and everything like that. Hopefully we won't be waiting too long for it. I think what I might do on the weekend, go down to like the store and everything like that, see if they've got any in the store maybe. See if we can get them a little bit quicker. But I hope you're doing good. We're literally just working with our sort of darkest colors at the moment, which is why we're doing like that. More like sort of base coats. A bit more of our dark color coming into here. A bit more brightness now. Said I always want the bottom of the cloak to be brighter. Good as we're working across as well. This side is drying quite nicely. Forgotten Forge, you doing good? Awesome. Yep, not too bad. Just working on Abaddon. The look we're going for the cloak is to match the tab art we've done. Can't really see it from, I suppose you sort of can, underneath like that. So see how on the back section we've got darkness and stuff towards the top, and then it gets lighter as it goes down. We still picked out sort of like the raised folds in a way. Same on this side. That's sort of the look we're going to go for. Okay, let's grab some black brown, tiny bit of our light umber. This is going to give us our sort of final like wet blended highlight almost. Start at the bottom, work that color up. Got a bit more of our black brown. Work that in. Grab a bit more of our lighter tone now. So the important thing really to try and focus on at this stage is consistency. So try and get a nice sort of equal balance between the more of the lighter tone and the dark. And keep rotating the piece you're working on as well. Okay, just in here there's like a dark line of shadow and then it just ends. It's not blended out. If you're not rotating your model, you might not catch that. To do that, go back to our black brown, tiny bit of black mixed in. Come across, go into that shadow. Pull that color down. Like you can literally see the colors blend in on the model. Bit of our lighter tone now. Tiny touch more water. Okay, so I want to try and catch a little bit of that fold, bring that color down. So just have confidence. Always remember you can go back to your darker colors. Just drop them in. As long as you've got a layer of wet paint on the model, you can adjust it as many times as you want. So this is more, it's a bit more thinned down than your typical paint. So we can quite easily drop in a layer, clean off the brush, keep a bit of water on it, and then just fade it out. Just do that. A little bit of water on the brush. Pull that color up. Fade it across. That technique sort of works really well with your darker colors, not so much with the lighter tones. See how I'm constantly moving the model, constantly checking our blends, our brightness, our shadows. Keep working at the area until you're happy. So you pay more attention the smoother you want the cloak to be. So if we were painting a Space Marine cloak, we'd continue this technique till it's finished. You fainted at your regular hormones blood test today, so you're still feeling shaky. I hate blood tests and everything. Can't stand needles. Alex, how you doing? Good timing on that stream raiders. Switch over real fast. Slow that down, something like that possibly. Yeah, with this cloak we don't have to be super precise with this stage because we're going to be coming back in, doing all like that sort of dryer brush stippling and everything. As long as we've got more of a nice sort of general smooth wet blend, it'll be okay. More for like the recesses than like the raised areas. But as we progress, we'll show you exactly what we're talking about. If you can as well, once you've started this process, you want to try and see it through to completion. Try not to put like the cloak down or anything like that, and start painting either something else or take a break. You can take a break once you've like completed a layer. Just remember sort of where you've left off. Go back down. This. Cool. Yeah, try and pay attention to Wells how, depending on the area I'm painting, depends on how we approach that section with the brush. Like these sort of general larger areas, we can be a lot quicker, a lot more free. Don't have to be super precise, but then as we're picking out like the raised areas, we completely change how we hold the brush. We're focused in. Draw a nice, clean, smooth, consistent line. Then we can go back to more of the, almost like kind of a more fun way of doing things. You don't have to be super controlled. You don't need that much like precision or anything. Yeah, because we're working with a large area as well, you might not get consistent coverage across the whole piece. Don't worry about that too much. You can always do a second layer once it's dry. Okay, I want to keep that recess a little bit darker. Just going to go back to our black and black brown mix. Drop that in. Work it into that paint. Okay. Make sure we get that brightness towards the bottom of the cloak. Let's fix this little recess section here. Okay. Something like that. Brightness, make sure we go back in, clean up that darker recess section. Actually put that layer right over there. Come back in then with our brightness. A lot more controls. That. Okay, the more you use like a single brand of paint, the more you learn the strengths, the weaknesses and stuff of that brand. And then you're going to change your approach. But like typically, your darker colors are going to cover a lot more than your lighter colors, which is why we're putting a layer of our lighter tone down first, then we're coming back in with more of our shadow tone, and then we're reblending that then with a light tone again, because we know our darker tones are going to cover a lot more than the light tone. So if we started with the darker tone first, when we come back in with that lighter tone, it's going to be a lot darker than we want it to be. Just getting a little layer of brightness down first will just help reinforce that brightness after we put down our shadow tin. Okay. Now we don't quite know how much of the cloak we're going to be able to see past Abaddon. So we paint the entire cloak like you can see the whole thing. Trying to make sure that every little detail and stuff on that is painted almost like the entire cloak will be off the model. Now we're just making small adjustments to the shadow. Okay. Nice. So let's set up our foundation. Okay, let's catch up the chat for a second. I think we missed out a lot of stuff. You can't get some of the Death Guard out of the Dark Imperium box. Yeah, if they have like sort of like more exclusive sculptor. I didn't think you could get the Dark Imperium box anymore. I thought they stopped selling it. I think it's kind of the same with the Eldar, not 100% sure, but I think you've read somewhere that some of the models will only be available in the box set. Dark Imperium so far is cheaper than the new Chaos box, yeah. The new Eldar and Chaos box is way overpriced in my opinion. That's why we haven't bothered with it. Just gonna wait for an Eldar sort of Battle Force box, or wait till they're released separately. Maybe a couple of months or whatever, but in no rush really to buy them. But judging by the stock levels and stuff like that I've seen on all the different websites and everything, I don't think that box is sold very well. Maybe they made a bunch of them. So maybe they have more stock than previous boxes and that, so but usually if like these kind of like launch boxes don't sell very well, they push out the like the miniatures on their own a lot faster. So hopefully we see Eldar, like standalone boxes for Eldar in the next few months. Cool. I think that's a good starting point. They're overpriced. It's going to get worse with the price hike. I'm not sure about that. You think you'll avoid getting new models in the near future? You have so many to paint at the moment, and that diorama just set yourself to do. Yeah, that looks good. Looks awesome. Balrog's cool mini. Interested to see what your plans are for it. You might even try painting the Space Marines yourself, but Death Guard is good to Alchemists. Sounds good. If you don't really have any plans for the Space Marines, like if you don't want to paint like a specific chapter or something, my recommendation would be do what we sort of did. Paint one of each of the chapters, because then you can learn how to paint different colors. So you can get really good practice in. Okay. Do we want to use this? Do you reckon that's too... Probably too big. Okay. So we got some light umber, we've got a tiny bit of that black brown. Make sure you're using an old brush or a brush you don't really care about anymore, because it will ruin your brushes. Start off in an area you know you want it to be brighter. Use a glove, or like got like a texture palette or anything, or a bit of tissue or something like that. I tend not to use tissue, especially with like stippling. For dry brushing, using a tissue and stuff is perfect, because your aim with dry brushing is to get rid of the moisture. With this more stippling, you want a little bit of moisture on the brush so the paint leaves it. But you don't want too much that you're literally just painting on to the model, if that makes sense. So it's about finding like the balance between having the brush dry enough that you can start getting like the stippling sort of texture down. But not too dry that every time you put the brush to the model, the paint's not like just staying on the brush. Yeah, coming back to the boxes and things, the only box I'm interested in right now is Curse City. Because it's the perfect, well, it's one of the better boxes for someone who only paints typically like your character models and things. Doesn't have like a starter of an army in it, so I don't have to spend a ton of time painting miniatures I don't want to paint. It's mostly like the characters and everything. I don't plan to keep up like any of them, like the larger ones and things we can do like raffle prizes and stuff for. The smaller ones maybe we'll do like if someone gets a commission. And picks like a large model. It's going to take a bit of time. Maybe as like a bonus or something like that, we can do maybe like give them a choice of like one of the smaller miniatures. Maybe do some like giveaways or something for them. So yeah, right now we're just, so I've got a bit of light umber, tiny bit of black brown mixed in. Just getting that texture mapped out. Then as we progress to our lighter and lighter tones, we'll get a lot more controlled, a lot more specific where we're applying the texture. You don't have to worry about the recesses or anything like that because they're already established with like a darker tone. We can come back in, glaze in some shadows as we need to. Plan is to redo the bridge of Khazad-dûm. Nice. Ganaf in the middle of the bridge, the Balrog putting his foot on it. The company behind Ganaf. Awesome. You have a really nice turbo dark blue. That's cool. Yeah, like the color shift ones interest me, but not enough to buy some. But I'm just concentrating right now. Oh no! Literally just said we're concentrating and we caught the bottom of the cloak. We'll get them. Like this is probably like the most important step. Because we're in that sort of like that safety zone where we're working with colors we've already applied to the model. But like that light amber, tiny bit of like the black brown and everything. So it appears a bit more subtle. The important thing with this step is we're mapping out where we want to place our brighter sort of stippling and weathering. So just really take your time. Like I said, if you get a little bit of stippling and stuff like that in the recesses, don't worry about it too much. Like if we do one like right there, for example, we'll come back at a later date and we'll do a bit of glazing just to reinforce the shadows. I'm going to focus a little bit of stippling and stuff around any sort of damage, scratches, tears, things like that. Like if you're not comfortable with glazing, you can go back to your darker tones and stipple over any areas you consider to be like a mistake. Like if you got some bit too much brightness in one of your recesses, just reset back to a darker tone, stipple over. It's a lot of like going back and forth between colors. Like right there, we got a big splodge. Not worried at all. Bit of our darker tone. Stipple over. Come back in with a little bit more of our lighter tone. I tried with this step as well to stipple a little bit into the recesses, because as we regress to like sort of like a pure light amber, we don't really want to put that into the recesses to get some texture showing. We can do that now because we're mixing in a bit of that black brown, a bit of light amber. It's not going to show up too much, but it'll still be there. I don't want it to look like all this like weathering and damage and stuff and that is focused into like the lighter area. That doesn't really make much sense. I need to see that. Okay. Has it got music or anything in it? I won't be able to show it on stream. We might be able to.
How would this work in real life? This wouldn't happen in real life. I think Spotty's actually right. Oh my god. Oh, I said that out loud. I think we need to make a road into the city.
Yeah, it's got a lot of traffic on that road there.
Oh, land. How would this work in real life?
Yeah, the problem with...
This would...
So, can I show this? Yeah, there we go. So the problem with this road right here is the connection points are at the same place. Like, in real life, this works, but these roads should have connected it a bit further across. And then you would have got like a dedicated right-hand turn lane only. Because like at the moment, this is feeding down into here. They're trying to go up across here as well. So that traffic is like, or like, is it going that way maybe? This, I can't really see there. I think the traffic is traveling this direction. So they're going up there. And also up here. And then you got these ones coming in from here and there. If a road continues that way, maybe. But yeah, I see what you mean. Spotty's right. Good job. Greenway this time. Hello. Hi. Alright. What are you right about, Spotty? About adding the road in? Or just everything? We're dead, by the way. Alright, we'll go let Lily out and stuff in a second. Let me start a fresh battle. Put this down instead. Be over here. You're always right. Technically a half left, but sure. Right, give me 2 minutes, everybody. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. Posted a picture of your dialogue gun you finished on Saturday. Very nice, very nice. Let's get the glove back on real quick. We'll take a look at the second. Still have a few models to paint. We'll aim for another paint scheme. Still working on finding the scheme itself. Okay, that's cool, that's cool. Yeah, it's interesting when you're painting models and stuff and that, you start off with, even like each model looks slightly different because you're progressing, like the paint scheme, you're progressing like your, like the different amount of colors and stuff and that you're putting on the models and everything. Really cool.
In there, Bubble, if you want to.
You also need to finish painting the worm. Is it worms? Did I say that? Worms? 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 Alice said hello, by the way. She said hello. Pronounce it like worms. Okay. Why didn't they just put it as worms, isn't it? Okay. Discord. Let's have a look. Completed. Ooh. Oh, let me bring up your. Let me bring up your Blood Angel as well. Open up that. Okay. So we have. Boop. Yes. Cool. I like the brightness of the red down here on all the cloaks. Looks really smooth on this one, especially at the front. Are you going to come back in with a brush and pick out these top sections? Very cool, very cool. Do you mind if I might do some highlighting? Do you mind if I redo the Blood Angel? What? Headphones caught my glove. Spotty said hello as well. You do the Blood Angel with a base of red, brown, mahogany, or sienna. Okay, we'll go over the Blood Angel in a second. Coats all airbrushed. Okay. Do you mind if I point out some stuff? You can say no. It's absolutely fine. Sure. Okay. Right. First thing that stands out to me, the metallics. Obviously, I have no idea what sort of effect you were going for or anything like that. So this is just solely based on what I can see. Some of the metallics and things in there. Obviously, the pictures, it might look different in person. I know from experience, when you're looking at a model, it looks totally different to what you can see on the picture because your eyes pick up a lot more contrast, everything like that. Some of the metallics, I think, could have done with a darker wash. If you did like a base coat of like a darker gold, or like a dark gold, do a dark wash, cut back in. Maybe do a base coat of, like, do it like a sort of highlight with base coat metallic and come in with your brightest metallic. To sort of push the contrast between your shadows and your highlights. Especially on like the silver here. Can you see my cursor? You can't. So I was talking about like this section here. So on the silver, it's looking very, like, especially the, almost like the ring pulls you get. I think they're like smoke grenades or some sort of grenade or something like that. Some like canister with like a ring pull. If you went like really heavy or really dark with like a black wash, and you do a lot more minimal highlighting on the silver, so just pick out like a band across there. You can highlight the bottom a bit as well, then highlight that ring pull. It'll give it a bit more separation between them. And like on the tubes as well, on like the face masks, on like the gas masks, or wherever these are supposed to be. Notice how the silver is almost like one tone across the whole thing. If you did another wash over it, it might help separate out the individual, what do you call them? Like individual like wrinkles, I guess. As for the biggest chaos worshiper of the stream, you don't have much chaos. Chaos models, cool. You have about 9 instead of the Blood Bowl team. Instead of a wash, using contrast paint could work. You could put a gloss varnish over the areas you plan to do a contrast over. That'll help. I'm sure you already know about, you know, breaking like the surface tension and stuff on there, help it run into the recesses a bit better and things. Yeah, these look really awesome though. It's just like little things that I can see on the picture that might help boost up the contrast a bit. Like perfect example is this section on the weapon here. See how this back section is all really dark? And then you've got that nice, clean, bright highlight. I think this is supposed to be like the weapon sort of magazine or something. Like where the bullets are. See how it's got a nice separation? You want to try and recreate this on the metallic if you can. Yeah, very cool, very cool. So yeah, Blood Angel, looking awesome. If you're going for like the sort of brighter Games Workshop-y style of Blood Angels, this looks really good. See, you said you already put a sort of overall sort of general wash of like a, I think it's dark tone and red, I think you said. Can I pull this up? Yeah, I can. Do a global wash, mix of dark tone, red tone, wash, medium, and water, okay? The reason I mentioned about doing like a pin wash, it's going like the shoulder pad and things like that. There's no real, like I said, this is just from what I can see on the picture. If you can get like a darker wash into like the recess, that'll give the separation between the flat of the shoulder pad and the trim. And like here as well. So yeah, sorry for like the, I guess like the criticism, I suppose. Yeah, it's looking cool so far. I like it. Yeah. Like everyone has different painting techniques, different styles, things they like, things they don't like. I really like, I'm getting into really pushing contrast. Like making sure the dark sections of a model are nice and dark. Trying to put like dark shadow against like a lighter highlight as well. I don't know if you can see on this one. So if we grab our brush real quick. So like see on this panel here on the arm. See how it's got a dark shadow running all the way around, and then it's got a nice edge highlight on this top section. And then you can sort of see like the same thing here. It's got a bit of shadow running underneath that plate there. Nice highlight across this edge. Same on this leg. That just helps separate out the panels. Quick, I did them quick to be able to play with them, but still do work. Alright, okay, yeah. It's not highlighted yet. Back to red down. Do an oil pin wash. Post some comments. Good comments. So yeah, very welcome. Okay. New views, just all learning opportunities. It's a very nice blue. An initial airbrush, set the black parts. Okay, yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, it's good to post like pictures like exactly like that stage, because then you can, if you're looking for feedback and things like that, you know where to focus a bit more attention and stuff. One thing you really don't like in GW style is the overabundance of highlighting. You prefer to go with less highlights. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. You don't need to edge highlight absolutely everything. You can always go for like a more subtle, darker highlight. Okay, let's mix up a bit more paint. Yeah, it's like when we painted our Blood Angels. That's why we did like the base of blue. Because not only do we use a darker blue to get that contrast between like the brighter reds, you also get a little bit of like sort of, what you call it, color theory, I guess. Or more like where you mix in not just dark and light, you're mixing cool and warm tones. Yeah, everyone has their preferences and stuff like that. A lot of people like the Games Workshop style of like edge highlighting and stuff and really clean. Some people like to do loads of weathering and everything. I personally just, I don't mind either. I almost like let the model decide if it wants to be like brightly edge highlighted or a bit more of like subtle, things like that, depending on how the like the base coats and stuff go. If I can achieve like the contrast and stuff between all the different panels and everything like that with like the layer in it, then we don't have to go super bright with the highlights. If we go for like more of like a sort of monotone base where we don't have too many like dark shadows and stuff like that, we go a little bit brighter with the highlights. Really awesome to see everyone's progress and stuff as well. So just bear in mind, I don't know everything about miniature painting. I'm still learning, just like everyone else is. I'd say I'm still super new to miniature painting and everything as well. I have my own personal preferences and stuff in there, which what I like, what I don't like. But I try and approach other people's work from a general sort of standpoint. Like how I would progress it. You can tell me to piss off and stuff and be like, no, I don't want to do that. That's some good feedback. Also about the shadow part. That's why you'll probably redo the red-brown base. Yeah. Dark purple as the base would work too. Need to test both. Also do a test with a biker marine boys to see how that works. Oh, the Outriders, yeah. You'll only use Space Marine's kill team if you do use them, so I might as well go for a scheme that I find quite easy to do. A Blood Angel is pretty easy, yeah. Yeah, you can do a purple base as your shadow tone if you want to. The reason I leant more towards blue was because if you mix blue and red, you get purple. So you can use a dark blue as your base layer. And then as you mix in, you use Acryl as well, don't you? So if you grab a dark blue, and then you grab your burnt red, you can do this as your base coat. And then through the airbrush then, if you mix in, maybe you'll have to do some testing. I don't know the exact ratios. Maybe you could do a couple of drops of burnt red into the dark blue. And then you'd put that over. Have I got a Space Marine? I did. Perfect. So you do a dark blue overall, and then you'd come in with your airbrush. You'd pick your sort of light source. So say you come in from this angle. You do a coat across this section here. You get a little bit around this side. Get on this leg as well. Maybe bring it around. And then the more burnt red you add, the less area you cover. And then you can go up to bold pyrrole and stuff as well. If you want to, depending how bright you want to go with your highlights, you might want to do, you mix a burnt red, bit of bold pyrrole to get some nice focus highlighting, and then you can come in with your brush, do some edge highlighting with bold pyrrole. That'll be a bit more subtle. You can always push the bold pyrrole through the airbrush, and then you can come in bold pyrrole, do your edge highlights, come in with some orange mixed with bold pyrrole, do even extreme highlights, depending on how much you want to push the contrast, how bright you want to go with your highlights. Yeah, if you mix these two together, you'll get a purpley tone. So you'll have a dark blue in your deeper shadows, then you'll have the purpley tone as it goes round the panel. Then you'll get more and more of that burnt red on the highlighted areas, and you can get bold pyrrole, do it even brighter, you know? Yeah. You can go pretty crazy with how much color you can apply to a single model. Like I said, it all depends what sort of look you want to go for. If you're going for more of the general sort of red base coat, so not the highlighting and stuff that Games Workshop does, but they have more of a sort of 1 to 2 tone base coat on their armor, where they do the dark red on Blood Angels, and they do the wash, and then you start highlighting with your lighter reds. They typically don't really push different shades and tones and stuff on their models too much. Obviously their goal is a Blood Angel is red, so it needs to read as red. Having like a little bit of blue and stuff in the deepest recesses and that might, you know, confuse people and all this stuff. Oh, that's not a Blood Angel, that's, you know, that's Crimson Fist, or it's like, shut up. You know. Basically what you did, you went pure burnt red, then 50-50 burnt red pyro, and then pure pyro. Yeah. Yeah. There's absolutely nothing wrong with however you want to paint. Everyone's skill level is different. Everyone's like preferences are different and stuff in that. Everyone's like interpretation of colors and stuff is different as well. Some people think, you know, ultramarine should be this shade of blue, ultramarine should be that shade of blue. No, that's too bright for an ultramarine, that's too dark for an ultramarine. You know? It's like, well, you paint them then. Yeah. Like the biggest thing, like one of the biggest turning points in my painting, like I talked about it before, was when I was trying to make, especially like panels on Space Marines and stuff, and I have more separation and try and make some panels brighter. I was always pushing for more brightness. I never thought to do, right, okay, I want this panel to be brighter. So instead of putting more red on, for example, make the shadows and like the recesses darker. Which is when, like when I paint now, I always have like the maximum brightness and stuff like that on the palette. And like you've seen me do it before, especially on like Space Marines and stuff and that. I'll do like an edge highlight of my brightest color, and that'll give me like a reference point then to work from. Because I'll know, right, I can't go any brighter than this, so all my panels need to be darker to give me the ability to edge highlight with that color. Okay, so starting to get the foundations down of this stippling. We're going to work in like pure light umber after this Stream Raiders battle. We're going to start focusing a lot more towards the bottom of the cloak, to like the ridges and everything. And that's when you start seeing the contrast boost. Okay. You learned airbrush control as you go, so Space Marines a great opportunity with those small cylinders and spheres. Yeah, Space Marines are great. Everyone's asleep today, I think, on Stream Raiders. Push the contrast, yeah. Phoenix shows a pretty nice trick when he comments on one of the viewers' pictures. First thing to do is switch the black to white. Switch to black and white to see exact contrast is a great idea. Hmm. It's not a bad idea. Hmm. I suppose that's where, like, almost like your sort of zenithal highlighting comes in. Because you work with the black and the white tones, that gives you a guide almost of where to start placing highlights and things. Then as you progress with like the zenithal highlighting, you can start shifting where your light source is on the model. Let's keep placing this. I want to level up this warrior if we can. It's got 8 scrolls to go. Sounds good. Switch back to that. He opens the picture in Photoshop and someone turns it black. Yeah, monochrome, yeah. You can do that on your phone. Let me see. Do I have a... Will this work? Yeah, this works. Okay. So, say you got an example, depending on what phone you got and stuff. This is a painted space marine. You can go through all the different filters. And you get like the monochrome one. You have it with like silver tone. This is like the black. So you can do it on your phone. Yeah, you got like a bit of the shadow and stuff under the foot and everything. Bit of the shadow here. Yeah. Cool idea. Because on streams, the phone will not be practical. Yeah, that's fine, yeah. Monochrome really helps identify contrast needs to be pushed without being disturbed by colours themselves. Yeah. Yeah, you can totally work in like grayscale as well. Yeah, having your phone on stream is like super risky because you know anything could pop up. So we're working with some light ember now. Too much paint. Yeah, don't worry about when you first start applying it. It might look a bit bright. As it dries, it usually dulls down. You can always go back over with your previous mixes, do a bit more stippling, tone it down a bit if you need to. Mhm. Yeah, Smarty, if you're still here as well, with like the space marines and stuff, have a go at painting them yourself. Like the more you paint, the more practice and stuff you get in. Might be able to paint your models, like your Death Guard and everything like that yourself from then on. I'm not saying that, you know, getting someone, like commissioning someone to paint your models and stuff and that is a bad thing. And I don't want to take, like, you know, commissions and stuff away from alchemists or anything like that. That's not the intention. You can still commission people to do like your characters and stuff like that if you're not comfortable with it. But for me, I get like a lot of satisfaction and stuff from painting my own models. You know, and then when someone trusts me with like a commission and stuff like that, it's like a really good feeling because they're trusting me to try and like recreate almost like their vision they have for a model. Can be a bit scary as well though. Yeah, just like keep in mind everyone starts somewhere. And I'm not a good example because, like, you know, previous art experience and stuff in that has helped me progress quicker than other people typically would. Cool. You still here? Awesome. It'd be really cool to see like you build up your confidence and stuff and then start painting. Like maybe use the Space Marines and stuff and that to practice on. And then when you get a bit more comfortable, maybe try paint some town. Maybe use Alchemist's models he's painted for you as like a reference. And try and like recreate the color scheme and everything. Az is another person that we need to start push into paint more. Cool. So see how we've got that foundation of that light umber in now? We've still got some texture and everything, even in like the deeper recesses. And now as we start pushing into the lighter tones, we're gonna focus out a lot more on like the bottom of the cloak, the side, the little ridges, things like that. The question was, did we use, I think we used golden brown, didn't we? Yes. Okay. Because we decided yellow ochre was a bit too like mustard. Like if we put them side by side. It's a lot more of like a mustardy tone. So it wouldn't really work for a highlight that we're trying to go for. Okay, let's grab light umber, a little bit of that golden brown. Load up. Test it on the glove. That looks okay. Yeah, we're focusing this brightness now towards the bottom of the cloak. Still trying to pick out around any sort of holes, tears, things like that. Mix up a bit more. See how now? Getting a bit more brightness down towards the bottom of the cloak. A super fun technique. Said, don't use a nice brush to do this. Just grab like an older brush. One you don't really care about too much. It helps if the bristles and stuff in there are a bit split as well. Mm-hmm. Look around at the edge of the cloak now as well. Right, now we go even brighter. A lot more control now, a lot softer. Whoops. We do a splodge like that. Don't worry about it. Come back in with a bit of darker tone. Step it over. Soften it out. Come back in with your lighter tone. There we go. So trying to focus around those tears and everything as well. Okay. Okay, we need a bit more light temper now. That one. Put a little bit around the palette, off to the side. Just so we have like a sort of uncontaminated version that we can work from. Okay. I'm trying to keep like the wear and everything as random as possible. So I'm doing little bits of like bright spots in some areas, keep it a bit darker in others. Probably do like one final sort of clean highlight around the edge of the cloak and everything once we're happy with the brightness. Alright, stream rate is gonna have to wait a second. I want to get the side of the cloak finished today if we can. Last splodge there. Don't worry about it at all. Come back out and fix that. Don't even need to fix that, to be honest. So smooth itself out on its own. Okay, let's go around the cloak. Go a bit lighter. Okay, let's do some stream rated. Alright, what time are we on? 10 past 3? With the last stream raiders of today. Start thinking about sorting out some dinner soon. Okay, job complete. Okay, pick that up tomorrow. Back to this. Is it you or is there no sound? It was you? Good. Nice. Good job, Alice. Beat back that chaos. Okay, I think we're ready to do our final sort of highlight stipple and everything. We'll probably come in with a finer tip brush. Maybe we can get away with this one. Yeah, let's get a finer tip brush to do all the highlighting around all the holes and everything, so we're not trying to make any mistakes at this point. So this is just pure golden brown now. Okay, this is going to be our last highlight. So we're going to keep it a bit more subtle. Reloaded the page, it sounds like Twitch. That's Twitch for you. If in doubt, blame Twitch. Right. We're getting there. Got our fine tip brush. Actually deepen up the touch of water. Paint that one in, paint this one in. There we go. Now we can start picking out the edges of all these holes and everything like that. Okay. Very nice. Nice. Turn this down a little bit. Okay. Take it off there for a second. Looks good. See if we can put on the model. There we go. Yeah, that looks cool. So I think tomorrow what we'll probably do, start with the cloak again. This time we'll do the outside. We'll do the same technique, same sort of worker. Put it back on for a second. Let's grab the base. Then we'll, so the torch actually goes past that side. Okay. So we'll focus the red on this side. Maybe do a bit on this one as well. Oh, too far. So this side and a little bit there. This side then will be the same as the inside. Cool. I like that. Yeah, that looks nice. Awesome. Happy with that. So yeah, tomorrow we'll do outside of the cloak. We'll work on the red OSL and everything, and we'll get all like the fur and stuff on the top then. Maybe do all the shoulder pad, get all this finished off. And then see how long that takes us. Hopefully we can get it done in like part 1 of the stream tomorrow. Then part 2 we can just continue to work around the areas of Abaddon that need finishing. I want to try and get like this part done, work on the trophy rack and stuff separately. So do all like the hydraulics and everything like that. Yeah, cool. Okay. Put you over there. Get rid of this glove. Need to do some brush cleaning and everything like that. But yeah. Time to go sort out some dinner, everybody. That is going to be it for today. We'll be back on tomorrow. Around the same time as today. Like I said, we'll work on the other side of the cloak. Hopefully we can get all this brown done. If we can start on the OSL, that'd be awesome.